There were always two pedestals in our house. One was polished, visible, already claimed. The other stayed empty, waiting for me to become someone worth placing on it. I grew up in Wellesley, Massachusetts, in a home where conversations were measured, smiles were curated, and success was treated like a public performance. My parents loved order. They loved admiration even more. And from an early age, it was clear which daughter fit that picture. The story in the video is a creative work by Revenge Mosaicum. All characters and events are fictional, crafted to convey a humanistic message and the values of family. Madeline learned quickly how to stand straight on her pedestal. Perfect grades, perfect posture, perfect silence when silence was expected. At dinner, my father's gaze always found her first. Victor's voice carried authority without needing volume. Your sister understands discipline. His words often landed, not as praise, but as instruction. My mother followed with a tight smile, the kind that looked warm from a distance and cold up close. Madeline knows how to represent the family. I learned where I stood by what was never asked. No one asked about my sketches. No one asked why my hands smelled like walnut and oil instead of perfume. When I brought things I made into the house, they disappeared quietly, as if they had never existed. Once, I left a small wooden box on the hallway table. Hand-cut joints, smooth edges. I had sanded it until my fingers ached. By the next morning, it was gone. Clutter, my mother explained later, adjusting a framed certificate on the wall. Madeline's. At dinner that night, conversation circled around law schools, connections, futures already mapped out. I listened, nodded when expected, and learned the rules speak less, take up less space, be grateful for the roof. If any part of this feels familiar, stay with me. Some stories don't begin with shouting. They begin with silence and the damage it does over time. Madeline's offer letter arrived on thick paper, embossed, heavy enough to feel important before anyone read a word. My father held it like proof. $215,000 a year, his voice announced to the table, satisfaction threaded through every syllable, and a signing bonus of $75,000. This is what commitment looks like. Madeline kept her eyes lowered, modest on cue. My mother reached for her hand anyway. All those years paid off. The dinner turned into a celebration that wasn't meant for both of us. Names of firms replaced conversation. Partners, bonuses, rankings. I sat through it, passing dishes, refilling glasses, learning again how easily space could be taken away. A week later, I brought home my own envelope, not embossed, not heavy. Just a check for $3,800 from a restaurant in Cambridge that wanted custom tables. My first real commission. My hands trembled as I placed it on the counter. My father glanced once, then returned to his phone. That barely covers groceries. My mother tilted her head, confusion soft but sharp. You make furniture for restaurants now. Madeline offered a careful smile, the kind meant to keep peace. That's nice. Nice. The word settled where congratulations should have been. My father pushed the envelope back toward me. When you're ready to stop experimenting and do something serious, let us know. We can help. Help. In that house. Always came with conditions. And success. I was learning, had very specific measurements. The invitation arrived by email, copied to everyone who mattered. 30 years. My mother's message announced, formal dinner, important guests. Important never meant family. It meant witnesses. The decision settled in quietly that night. Not desperation clarity. If there was ever going to be a final attempt, this would be it. At breakfast, my father reviewed the guest list aloud, testing names like credentials, partners, board members, people who understand quality. Quality. The word stayed with me. I'll handle the table. I offered, keeping my voice steady. My mother paused, spoon hovering mid-air. The caterer already has furniture. This would be different. The explanation came carefully, like walking on glass, something permanent. My father looked up, measuring. You mean another project? An heirloom. The word escaped before caution could stop it. Silence followed. Not rejection, worse. Indifference. In my workshop, the plan took shape anyway. A 12-seat dining table, black walnut, single slab, hand-cut joints, no shortcuts. Every hour was deliberate. Every cut carried the same thought if they could see the work. Really see it. The story might change. I tracked every cost in a small notebook. $8,400 in materials. Months of labor without pay. I didn't tell anyone. Hope works best in private. The night before delivery, my hands shook from exhaustion. The surface gleamed under the light, smooth enough to reflect a face back at itself. I ran my palm across it and imagined voices stopping, eyes turning, something shifting at last. The table arrived before the guests. 2 staff members maneuvered it through the front door, careful despite the weight. When they set it down in the center of the dining room, the space shifted. The room didn't feel staged anymore. It felt anchored. I stood back, hands folded, waiting. The first guests entered with practiced smiles. Coats were handed off. Compliments floated easily about the house. The flowers, the wine. Then one of them stopped short, fingers brushing the edge of the table. "This is stunning," the man murmured, leaning closer. "Who designed this?" My chest tightened. I took a step forward, before my voice could find its place. My father's laugh cut through the room. Not loud, certain. "That shouldn't be there." The guest straightened, embarrassed. "Oh, I assumed it's a mistake," my father continued, already turning away. "We ordered proper furnishings. Proper." The word landed heavy. My mother hovered near the doorway, smile fixed, eyes avoiding the table entirely. "Let's not crowd the room," her tone suggested, as if space itself were the problem. More guests arrived. The table became an obstacle they walked around, not something to admire. Conversations bent away from it. I watched people admire the grain, then looked to my father for permission, and quietly stepped back. Madeline stood near the window, glass clenched too tightly. Her gaze flicked toward me once, then dropped. A server paused beside my father. "Should we move this before dinner?" "Yes," came the reply. "Immediate. Take it out. The driveway will do." The room went still. I felt heat rush up my neck. "It's for tonight." My voice pressed forward, thin but steady. "I made it for you." My father finally faced me. Not angry. Worse. Amused. For us. His eyes swept the room, then returned sharp and cold. "This isn't a shop class exhibit. We're hosting people who matter." A guest shifted uncomfortably. Someone cleared their throat. "Please," my father added, gesturing toward the staff. "We don't need a scene." The table began to move, slowly, relentlessly. Every inch it traveled felt like a public erasure, happening in real time, with witnesses. The table disappeared through the front door, carried with the same care it had been given on the way in. That care ended at the driveway. I followed the movement without thinking. My mother stepped into my path, her voice low and urgent. "Not now. You're upsetting people. People." The word slipped out before I could stop it. My father turned, irritation finally cracking the surface. "This is exactly the problem. You never understand timing." I understood the date. My response came steady. 30 years. I planned for that. His expression hardened. "You planned for attention." The music in the next room grew louder, someone laughing too easily. The house was moving on without us. I spent months on that table. The truth pressed forward. $8,400 in materials. Every joint cut by hand. And none of it asked for. My father cut in. We have standards in this house. Madeline took a step closer, her voice barely audible. Dad! Maybe no! He snapped. The word final. This has gone far enough. He looked at me then. Not as a daughter, but as a liability. I've tried to protect you from embarrassment for years. You refuse to learn. The air felt thin. If you want to live like this, his gesture swept toward the door. Do it somewhere else. Not under this roof. My mother stared at the floor. Madeline's face drained of color. No one intervened. I picked up my coat without ceremony. The driveway glistened under a sudden drizzle. The table sat exposed, rain already darkening the wood. From the doorway, my father added one last line, sharp and controlled. Don't come back until you're ready to be respectable. The door closed behind me. The rain kept falling. I didn't look away. 4 years passed without a single call. Providence gave me work before it gave me comfort. The mill building was loud, imperfect, honest. My workshop grew from borrowed benches to a space that finally held its own weight. 5 people relied on it. I showed up early. I stayed late. The rules were simple: make things well, pay people fairly, keep going. Theo appeared one afternoon with coffee and an unasked-for opinion. You don't apologize for your work. His tone carried more observation than praise. That's rare. I used to. The truth surfaced easily. I don't anymore. He nodded once, as if that answered everything. The first article ran in a regional design journal. Then another. Clients learned my name without asking where I came from. Orders arrived without explanations attached. The past didn't vanish, but it stopped demanding attention. At home, the table we ate on was one I had built for myself. No ceremony, no witnesses. Theo ran his hand along the edge one evening and smiled. This one feels like it belongs. It does. My response landed calm and certain. I didn't think about Wellesley. Not the house, not the driveway, not the rain. Silence had done what arguing never could. The phone rang during a production meeting. An unfamiliar number. Massachusetts area code. I let it ring twice before answering. My mother's voice slipped through, unchanged. Your sister is struggling. The room stayed quiet around me. My team waited without pressing. The firm downsized, she continued, efficiency sharpening each word. Madeline was affected. It's temporary, but appearances matter. I leaned back, already understanding the direction. We've discussed a solution. Her tone shifted, businesslike. Your company is stable. Madeline could manage operations, finances, client relations. I watched one of my employees sand a tabletop, steady and focused. You've always been good with your hands, my mother added. This would let you stay in your lane. There it was. The old division, polished and repackaged. She would need authority. My mother pressed, access to accounts, decision-making power. Just until she finds her footing. A pause followed, expectant. The answer formed without heat, without anger, without negotiation. I won't be doing that. Silence cracked on the other end. Don't be difficult, her voice warned. This is family. I ended the call before the word could be used again. Around me, work resumed naturally. No one asked why my hands were shaking. No one needed an explanation. The call came after hours. A number I hadn't seen in years. Scarlet. Madeline's voice reached me raw, stripped of polish. Please don't hang up. I stayed silent, waiting. I didn't know Mom called you. The words rushed out. I swear I didn't ask for that. I wouldn't. The edge I had prepared dulled. Then why are you calling her breath hitched? Because I don't have anyone else. She explained in fragments. The layoffs. The exit meeting that lasted less than 10 minutes. The quiet drive home with a box of framed achievements that suddenly meant nothing. When I stopped being useful, I stopped being wanted. Bitterness cracked through her composure. They look at me now the way they always looked at you. I closed my eyes. You think I was strong. Madeline continued, urgency rising. I wasn't. I was obedient. There's a difference. The truth settled between us, heavy and undeniable. I hated law school. She confessed. I hated every hour after it too, but it bought me approval. Until it didn't. A pause stretched thin. There's something you never knew. Her voice softened, careful now. That first commercial order you got, it wasn't luck. My grip tightened around the phone. 2 years after the anniversary, Madeline pressed on. I used part of my signing bonus, $42,000. I set it up through a procurement company. No names, no trace. The room felt smaller. I added another phase later. She continued, quieter. $67,000. I told myself it was anonymous support, but really, I was scared they'd break you the way they broke me. Images rearranged themselves, the timing, the sudden momentum, the way survival had arrived just before collapse. I read Dad's emails. She admitted, the ones mocking your work. That was the moment I chose you. My voice finally found air. All this time, I thought you were winning. A humorless laugh answered back. I was performing. The rivalry we had lived inside dissolved, leaving something unfamiliar and fragile in its place. I'm done chasing their approval, Madeline said, even if it costs me everything. I let the silence breathe before responding. Then you won't be doing it alone. Her sob broke free, relief tangled with grief. For the first time, we weren't standing on opposite pedestals. We were standing on the same ground, looking at the same truth, without anyone else speaking over it. My mother called one last time a week later. Her voice carried the same authority it always had. You're choosing the wrong side. I'm choosing a side for the first time. The line went quiet, then colder. If your sister walks away from law, don't expect us to support that decision? I don't. The words landed without effort. She doesn't need it. The call ended there. It was clean. Final. Madeline came to the workshop the following month with rolled drawings under her arm and tired hope in her eyes. I enrolled, she shared softly, landscape architecture. Theo poured coffee without comment. He handed her a mug like it was the most natural thing in the world. Later that evening, we sat at the table in my kitchen, the one I built after leaving. Madeline traced the grain with careful fingers. They would hate this, she murmured. That's how I know it's right. Some families teach you how to perform. Others teach you what freedom costs. I learned that love without conditions feels quiet, steady, and real. If this story stayed with you, let it. Share it with someone who needs permission to choose themselves. Stay with us for more stories about building a life that doesn't require approval.